Let me put the record button so I don't forget again.
Okay.
Meekins is on her way as well.
Good. Well, good. Thank you.
Good to see you all. How are you?
Well, I got some updates from Melissa. So we are still working on it.
Yeah, she called me. We talked earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a good testimony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she kind of updated me on some of the details.
Mm-hmm.
She suggested that we should co-create, and I said, okay, sure, why not?
Absolutely. We do that so naturally and so easy. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it.
Mm-hmm.
How was you? How was your day been so far, Sudi?
Good.
All right.
I was actually, well, it was kind of like unexpected. I went for tutoring, and it's supposed to be just only one student, but somehow another student come in. So actually, I have double the income of what I'm supposed to have today.
Yes. Congratulations. That is so awesome.
Yeah, we used to work very hard.
Absolutely. 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 Anson, congratulations on your new place. That is a great responsibility and a great achievement.
I haven't found a place yet, but yeah, we're getting there.
Just appreciate that you have a new place, that you feel so good about it, and then you'll be there.
Okay.
Absolutely. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything?
I have a testimony to share.
Okay.
Yeah, and this actually happened, I think, on last Monday, if I'm not wrong, before my friend went off for his vacation. And when I saw him in the morning, I always say good morning because he's right by me. And at one point in time, it was odd that he was standing up. And I didn't know why, because he's not usually like that. And so I asked him what happened. And that friend of mine is Darwin, Mom. You should totally meet him. He's a cool guy. And he told me that ever since he broke his neck and his back is always at a constant pain. So he has to take like multiple painkillers each morning, right? And that day was the worst day he had experienced for a long time. And I was like, oh, like how often do you have this pain? And he was like, well, I haven't had this pain for, I'd say, about close to 2 years now. So he will always have a pain. That's why he always popping pills every morning and every afternoon. And so because it was so odd that he was standing, that's why I asked why, and that's when I learned that he's always in constant pain, and that pain on that day was excruciatingly painful. And so in my head, I told myself that Darwin will feel okay. Darwin will feel happy, and he'll be able to be his cheerful self again. And then he can get back on to his work, and then we can spend time at coffee once again. So we were discussing about work while I was thinking like that, and then I went back to my desk. About 1.5 to 2 hours later, during a coffee break, he came back, and then he was like, "Hey, Anthony, you ready to go for coffee?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go for coffee." And when I asked him how his back is feeling right now, he was like, it was odd. After you left, about 15 minutes after, I decided to take a walk for about 5 minutes. I came back and I was feeling better. And I was like, great.
Wow.
Congratulations. You're a natural healer. Natural healer.
Yeah, we are all these things that we don't know.
I keep telling you, you're God. And that's, you gave me chills, so thank you for sharing that, because those people right there, which is great with the lesson, and I'm kind of veering from our Master of Christ conscious. This is why I said what is grief, because every story that we hear from the testimonies, there's always a grieving, and sometimes people associate grieving with loss, which is often true, but sometimes we forget that people grieve in other ways, such as Anson was saying, that pain, you know. And then all of a sudden when we come in and you just send in that type of love and that compassion and that servitude, when you send that, he has no choice but to get better because he likes Anson. There's common ground. He can find satisfaction in all those things with Anson. So all of a sudden, watch this. The voice pops in his head, go take a walk. And he goes and takes a walk and he comes back and he's better now. That's amazing. And I think the reason why it's important to teach on grief is because it's a very, 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 very potent emotion. Very potent. And it's one that causes certain vibrations within your body that you feel, whether it be to loss, pain, lack of finance, lack of perception, lack of relationship, lack of all these things or whatever you want to do. But once you understand these emotional energies, when you see people like that are suffering, now it's easier to shift energies to help them out of their grieving. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So even when I hear different people that call me during the week, it's 1 minute they're high and, oh, Pastor, I'm creating this. And all of a sudden, like we said yesterday, they'll get one piece of paper, and that one piece of paper will dictate the rest of their day because it throws them off.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're grieving behind the letter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So one of these emotions is one of those things where we're trying to get you to look at it in different ways. So when we meet those people, like for instance, with your student, first told us of her situation, she was grieving.
Yeah.
Within herself, internally and externally. So when y'all center that love, you begin to see transformation within her body. Does that make sense? When we look at grief, you could look at grief as a loss from a job, relationship, an idea, a concept, a dream, and a possibility. But one is ever relieving oneself of life as much as embracing life. So grief can be presented to you through so many different experiences, and you have to experience that emotion. So it's one of those things where people try to hide the grief, but at the end of the day, it resonates so much in their body that you can see it on their face. They look sad. They look unpleasant. They look miserable. And they want miserable feelings to be with miserable other people. So they have this quaint, you humans say, misery loves company. So many don't grieve and they internalize it. And though it may not necessarily turn itself into something bad or negative, it is rather a mix up of your circuitry a bit, which makes it hard to admit. I did this today, so forgive my handwriting and grammar. So I tried to clean it up on the second copy.
We can't get it.
So it's a bit hard for you to admit. It makes it's up to your circuitry a bit, which makes it hard for you to admit vibration signals that are going to you to produce to be productive for you. Sometimes people come to me because they have lost someone in their lives, and they often say, Pastor, I will never forgive this. And I tell them, you won't. You can't. It's not meant for you to get over anything. Experience it. And this is where they confuse surrendering and not understanding that emotion. And we're not saying don't be happy and don't be, we're not saying be a robot. And no, because that part of that is love. Does that make sense? So when people say, I can't get over it, they're really trying to express something that they have not accepted to move past, that they no longer serves them. Does that make sense? So it's natural. It's natural what you feel. It's natural what you will think. It's where you will stand with it. Your body will experience it, but your soul knows what to do. So there are some emotions through your human nature that go beyond any form of understanding or any form of resolution. So when you allow yourself to experience what you feel, your human nature will do that, will do what it needs to do, and the God in you will look after you till at some point you will feel what you feel, but you will feel it differently. So when you understand about death or loss or these things that hold people back, when you feel that, they don't know how to organize that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So now it becomes misplaced creation. Okay? So if you look at the grief of the loss of somebody, that is love that you feel when you feel sad. That is respect in your grief. Honor in your grief. It's an opportunity to allow yourself to honor the life of that individual, but also the agreement you made with that individual. So if you try to get over it, then it's like trying to push aside the power of what that energy represents. So many people have had many life changes in their lives forced upon them at times, and there is grief in letting go sometimes of an identity, of a culture, of a country, the rules and systems, the ideas that go along with all those things.
Mm-hmm.
He popped the pills every morning and in the afternoon because he was grieving, and then he built up a system called a habit that now he has to do.
Mm.
Thank God for those pills, but I guarantee you, and I could be wrong, how many times did he say, "I bless you, pill, I love you, pill, thank you"? You're supposed to do.
No.
But he blesses his food.
Mm.
Whatever you put internally, you should do what? Bless it.
Nice.
The water you drink, you bless. I've been in countries where water is scarce, and there's some water that is not potable water to drink.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same with food, same with air.
Mm.
If you ever come to Los Angeles and visit us, you're gonna have to wear a gas mask.
Yeah.
Walk alone will kill you. You see what I'm saying? So people bring up all these systems and all these ideas that go along with all those believings that come along with grief. So their grief is a natural way of cleansing oneself. And of course, the way you approach it is relative to your decisions. For remember, it is all your creation. And that is why some will beat the pillows, howl at the hills, and some will be silently quiet within their way of it. So it's important to find your personal voice when you're mourning. For in grieving, you may wish to write it down in a poem. You may wish to write it a story. You may wish to cook a lot of cookies and cakes, eat a lot of cookies and cake.
I'd rather eat.
Think about it. This is where when people are grieving, but if you notice, they will never say I'm grieving. But
Yes.
they'll go cook the cookies and eat the cookies.
No, I just go out and buy and eat a lot of food.
So you go buy the cookies and you eat the cookies.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, it's about being able to say, oh, hi, grief. You're a part of my life at the moment, and I allow you to be there, and I will be honest with you, and I will let you be a voice for me for a while, but there will come a time when I don't need to have that voice anymore, and I know I'll never get rid of you. I know I just simply put you somewhere. Come on in.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you? Sister Williams is here.
Hi.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How about you?
Wonderful, thank you.
I'll put this in a small print. If you need a bigger print, I can print.
Oh, I'm good.
I forgot to put it on a smaller font head because when I was channeling this through Tabash and I was writing this, I was just in the flow. So that's why I sent you the messed up copy the first time.
Oh.
Oh,
I wrote it, and then I went, oh my gosh, I forgot to autocorrect this thing, grammar proof this thing. So anyway, we're talking about grief
Okay.
and different levels of grief, and we're on page 4.
Okay.
yes.
I know I just simply put you somewhere in the room of life, and I know you'll be there as you evolve in your idea of being God more. Of course, you begin to experience the emotions very differently because you begin to see life without your human emotions, and that's why there are some people who find it really, really hard to feel sad when someone passes, and they might try to conjure it up within them. And they think, oh, something must be wrong with me. you know, I'm repressing things, or I'm not a very nice person. What are you doing? Feeling the bigger picture. You realize in that, let's all just, basically I'm trying to say that spirit has just went home. So people express it in different ways. Some people holler in the pillow. They'll holler and they'll drive away and scream at the top of their lungs. They'll boo-hoo and cry. And some people just sit there and just won't have any emotion whatsoever. Just numb, and they'll think, why am I numb? The spirit has left. You see what I'm saying? So now you begin to feel the bigger picture. So it's just gone home. Why would I feel sad? When you feel that connection to source, you're able to understand and feel the joy of what you relieved in human nature. Here's yes.
Sorry. We sometimes for us we kind of go on the reverse psychology. Don't be sad when somebody passed on.
Right. But you know what? But how do you change people's perception when they're in that state of mind?
Well, we do, but because this is a different point of view, let's say we talk about from the Buddhism point of view is, if you pass on, you go home, means you actually, because we describe the world as an ocean of sufferings, right? People born in this world, there will be a lot of suffering, the suffering of the birth, death, sickness, and growing old. And then there are many things like, you desire something you cannot obtain. So the world is full of sufferings. So sometimes we can try to console people saying that, well, at least now he doesn't have to be in this world of suffering. He go back to a better place.
Right, exactly. And as simple as that sounds, you know how hard it is for people to receive that?
Yeah. It is like for him, like his father passed away, right? So we take time, but in the process is that I'm not sure how he got it, but during that time is that we kind of miss this person, having him around.
Right.
But at the same time, we always console ourselves, say, oh, he's in a better place, because he was so sick. It's good that he's away out of the physical body.
Absolutely. And let me tell you guys a secret, and I didn't write it in here, but I'm glad you brought that point up, that to be absent from the body is to be present with God, right? So when you understand that concept, you understand that death is nothing more than one person leaving one room or space into another space.
Right.
Yes.
Here's the thought. Each time you think of your loved ones that have passed on, do you know they immediately come to you?
I can feel him, yes.
They immediately come to you, even though they're in the other side of the veil, still creating. We can kind of jump forward, but people don't realize that because you're God and you have free will to create whatever you create, when you pass on, you can take your ignorance with you.
Oh.
Wow.
You don't realize that.
No, I didn't know.
You can take your ignorance with you. And even though they take their ignorance with them, there will be guides and helps there to help them, to assist them, but that person still, or that soul, still has a free will to create whatever they want. So if they believe in eternal hell, they're going to go through an eternal hell period because that's their choice to create it.
Wow.
And experience it even after that, but they won't stay there long. When people say, oh, I'm going to go into a bad place, they don't stay there long because they quickly realize, I'm God, I don't have to stay here long. And there's other gods around me that are assisting me and helping me in this process. Right? And then you have others who, when they have believings of understanding death, they leave the body and then they look at the physical body and go, oh my God, how'd I ever stay at that thing? Why would I ever want to come back into this body? And they stay in the afterlife. Okay? Now, here's where the human nature and the God nature comes into play, per se, in terms of your soul. When a person crosses over, and this is later in this teaching, but I'm kind of jumping ahead, but when a person crosses over and we always say you're powerful, even here. Notice this. When you're here, does it feel like a struggle when you're manifesting and creating? Kind of feels like a struggle.
Yes.
Don't come as fast as other things come.
Right.
Yes.
When you leave the other side and you understand how free you are and how powerful you are, and you're a fractal part of being God, people get on the other side and all of a sudden they order Big Mac and French fries, and the French fries are as big as the Empire State Building. I'm using a metaphor, but they realize how powerful they really are to create. So they stay in a space of creating all these things, mansions, empires, walks in the park, relationships. They create all these things because they can. When you're in this human body, you can do anything you want because you what? Can. Reason why people don't is because I had a friend who I had to minister to this past weekend, whose brother, his younger brother, and he's probably in his 30s, very young man. His younger brother passed away 3 years ago, and he was still grieving behind his brother's loss, and he couldn't get a job, couldn't get a car, still live with his parents. All these bad things. So I said, well, what's going on? Oh, my brother's gone. When did he pass? 3 years ago. Why would you hold on to that? But people do that. And then here's another secret that you might not understand that's in this teaching. When people, you ever been to a person's deathbed when they're passing as family members? Or seen them passing?
No. Oh, no, I never saw it.
Most of y'all have probably never seen them pass, but you probably went to the bedside to say your final goodbyes if you were blessed enough to get there.
Oh no, his father passed away without them knowing.
Yeah.
He was in the ICU, they call intensive care. And when he passed away, the nurses would come out and tell the family.
Yeah.
So the father actually passed away by himself, alone.
Watch this. Let me pull this up real quick. Let's see. Okay.
So Anson, you know, right? This is about your grandpa.
Yes.
Just explain.
And this is why we're talking about it, because of this. Because when what Sudi just said, think about this, and it's in this story that I'm trying to find. It's in this teaching, probably further down. But I put in this story that we're talking about where people, I'm gonna give you two scenarios of what happens when people begin to pass over. When a person begins to pass over, they're ready to go home. They're ready to leave the body. The family member comes around the bedside and everybody's saying, no, you can't go. I don't know how to let you go. You cannot leave. I don't know how to live my life without you. Do you realize they create an energy around this person where that person can't leave?
Yes.
Oh.
And if you ever notice that when everybody leaves a room, the person passes on, and all of a sudden they come back and go, oh, I should have went to the toilet. I never should have went and got that Big Mac. You notice that?
Yes.
Or in some cases, I didn't get to go see my father or my mother or my whoever pass away. And they have this guilt or grief of not being able to be there. And I said, well, they didn't want you there. Pastor, what do you mean they didn't want me there? That is so mean. I said, well, if they wanted you there, you'd have been there.
Yeah. That's the reason why you are not there.
No, don't leave me. No, stop. All these things. And then you'd guilt trip yourself even more, going to the toilet and come back and he's
I know this is not like a joke, right? But his father actually gave us a hint. He actually allowed his sister, so means his auntie, to have a dream, and he actually leave a message. He left a message saying that he's doing fine. Don't worry about him. He's where he's supposed to be.
Right.
And he's feeling way better. And he's not sick anymore. And so we start going like, oh, okay. So we start celebrating, you know, because we believe that in doing the good work that, you know, that we are trying to do, or we have been doing, or we're learning, is that we also keep the good reputation in the family name, right? So it's good for the father.
Absolutely. It's an honoring and a respecting of that consciousness. So when people are trying to say, oh, I don't want to let you go, I don't want to let you go, what they're really trying to say, or not understanding, that they're trying to erase that thought or memory of what that person, individual energy represented. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can't. So this is why it's so important that we talk about it, because it's actually part of life. And at one point in time, we're going to have to face this type of grief and know how to deal with that type of energy and understand the process of it. And everybody grieves differently. Everybody grieves differently. So once we get an understanding, and because we're talking about this is a form of healing that is a relieving. Okay. Matter of fact, go to page 6. This is what we're talking about. I've seen many people in hospice as a pastor, and often see the families come to visit their loved ones, and I can sense the soul's frustration. Here's the family, and you trying to do your best to go home, and you're lying in your quote-unquote deathbed per se, and all around them are having these people pleading, don't go, don't leave me, I still need you, how could you do this to me? All these things. And as the person is trying their best to go home, all these people with their emotional need, with their demands of you, and they're trying to do their best to leave and go home. So we stop them from going. Watch this. I want you to understand this. Look how powerful we are. Look how powerful we are. The person's not dead, but they're near death. And you're stopping or resisting near death when that person is trying to leave. So now you have, watch this, a tug of war between emotions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And as I put it, and yet the human nature that is around them is like someone throwing an arrow above them. So all these emotions are above them. So watch this. Here they are laying in their deathbed, and as the spirit is trying to leave, there's arrows and emotions going over him all over the room, so he don't want to go through that.
Wow.
Okay? And I noticed that when most people pass on is when everybody was out of the room. Every single time somebody left the room, and unless it's a rare occasion, you see what I'm saying, where they die in your arms or something like that. But if a person is transitioning on, and you know they're transitioning on for whatever reason, then most of the times you're not there when they transition. When my mother passed away of cancer in 2000, I went home. She wanted me to be there. Yay! I flew home. She says, I was waiting on you to get here. And I went, wow, that's an interesting thing to say when you're dying. My whole family says, she's been waiting for you to get here.
Wow.
When I got there, I went in and they brought her from the hospital and brought her home. And she was in my sister's room. So I went in the room, and the reason why I talk about this is because this is me talking. And I went in there and I'm holding her hand. Don't leave, mommy. I ain't need you. And I literally slept by the bedside. And she told me, let me go. I don't want to let you go. I need you. Let me go. And then she started talking to all my dead relatives, and I'm thinking, where they at? So I leave. And as soon as I leave to go get some Chinese food, she leaves and goes home. They call me Hey, she's gone. Oh my God, we speed on. I get home, she's gone. And then I had to realize this was me shooting arrows over her, preventing her from going home when all she wanted to say was, all right, I'll see you later. You'll be okay. Our journey together has ended and I'm no longer necessary for you.
Wow.
Everybody get that? So when people start guilt tripping, I was never there, that person didn't want you there. And it's okay, because you can call that person at any point in time and they'll come to you, okay? Let's jump down to the grief that you will feel is remembering something within yourself. Think about what I said before. You're all simply each other. So when someone passes from your life, what you've done is actually said goodbye to a part of you that is no longer necessary for you to align with. I'm on page 7. Page 7. Does that make sense? So they're no longer necessary for you to align with. It was my mother's time to go, so it was no longer necessary for me to align with her. In other words, she finished her mission. And the thing is, that part can never be replaced because you don't want to replace that part of you. And so when you really allow yourself to think, right, well, now I have to make all these other adjustments because I don't have to be under the influence of that karma anymore, and the idea anymore, feeling anymore of all that goes on with being connected to people. So when you say your goodbye to self through that individual, what it does, it automatically aligns you with the people around you. This is what we call the Weber relationship that you always hear me talk about, right? Or who is in my life now? Who, in other words, when that person, when mother passed and when father passed, I had to say, who's in my life now? Who do I need to pay attention to now? And I know people have their own belief systems around passing and death and ethics, but when you really get to the concept being God, then, and from our perspective, it's like you've gone from one room to another and you still have that alignment. You still have that connection, but the conversation becomes different. The emotion comes different. Your perspective of how you feel and how you live becomes different. You're forced to change your behavior, your thinking, your living, your releasing of that energy. You see what I'm saying? You'll realize how liberating it is having freeing up becomes. When you're no longer bound by the rules and rituals, what you thought life was all about. So when people cross over, this is kind of getting into the depthness of the spirit. But when you get into the depthness of the spirit, this is when you understand you are a fractal part of God. So when we call you God, when we gave the analogy of the water with the commercial, you remember that? And you gave the example with Buddha and the ocean. We got that from him and used the commercial version. So the water that comes up is like us returning back to the Father on the ocean scale. But that one droplet had the same amount of power as the whole ocean. So that one soul had just as much as power as the big God.
Glory God.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So this is why I try to connect you all with me and my Father are one. There is no separation between me and them. I had to learn that there was no separation between my dead mother other than she had just transitioned on and went to another level of creating, another level of experiencing, another level of expanding herself. And we do the same thing. We just go through the human process from birth to being a baby to a teenager who's disrespectful and mean, and then to a young adult, to middle age, and to, you see what I'm saying? And then think about this. These things give you opportunity for other things to be blessings in your life. So when babies come in and they die as babies, it was an opportunity for the parents and those families to come together. It's a coming together. because that God, baby, chose to make his transition. How many can stop death?
Nobody.
How many can stop death?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You're
So-
resurrected, but you're still gonna die.
So it can be that a soul actually left the physical and then come back again
Yes.
within the same surrounding, knowing the same people.
Yes. If he chooses. But most of them look at the body and go, why would I want to come back?
No, come back in a different body.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because this is not written also, but kind of a side note, people don't realize that you all have contracts coming into this earth on what you want to learn and what you want to experience and what you want to create as God. This is why they call it the school of hard knocks. Earth is a hard place to learn lessons from.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody comes to this planet to learn, but everybody has a contract. Some people come in groups and they leave in groups. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
People go and shoot another person or kill another person, and that was the contract that they made.
Mm.
Does that include living things like your pets?
Yes. All
Okay.
of it is part of the web of relationship, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it presents opportunities because when there's loss and grief, you have to have what? What's the opposite of that?
Life.
Life. It shows you how to live life more.
That's good.
It shows you how to be appreciative of life more.
That's true.
How to be more compassionate in things. How to put more love in those situations and say, you know what? They had an agreement because now it brought these families together so you can say when they go on TV from a loved ones, I forgive that person and I don't want any ill to happen to that person who did all this chaos. And then people watching that go, if it was me, I'd just tell them to pull the switch and kill them off.
No, the thing was somebody's pet was dying,
Uh-huh.
and I kind of spoke to the animal that you should, if it would be better if you come back as a human being, as a human form,
Uh-huh.
close to our family, because then we can guide you, right, in positive energy. And so that animal was a cat, a baby cat, a kitten, and the kitten actually died. And soon another baby was born. It's one of our relatives' baby, and when I went to see the baby,
Look like the cat.
The special feature, the cat has a two-color tongue.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there's a black like birthmark type in the tongue, and then the baby girl has the same feature.
Because you guys had a contract of what that was going to look like and how it was going to be. My father said the same thing about my uncle, and my grandma got mad at him.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say?
My uncle had passed away, and my dad goes, that looked like he called his name, it was a cat, and the cat looked just like him and was meowing, and my grandma, oh, you, that blah blah, you stupid, that is not your brother, that's a dumb cat.
no, that's the wrong way around. This is the lower thing to a higher being, human being.
Right, but people's perception about things like that only go because of their culture, how they've been taught, and their own believing systems.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't understand the whole process of eternity and this thing never ends, this is a never-ending story.
Yeah.
But because you said that when you are ascended master, what you say comes true. So a lot of things kind of make sense to me right now. It's coming back, connecting a lot of dots.
Absolutely, your words have power.
I know, but not that powerful.
No, you have to get out of saying that and say, you know what, I'm all powerful.
Oh, I'm all powerful. So listen to me.
You spoke to a fellow soul in the spirit, in love, and there was a contract when you did it, and there was a born. There was a That's not coincidence. But people will have to find it in some book. They'd have to find it in some lab. They'd have to find it in some telescope or something like that. They'd have to find something tangible because they cannot understand divine will, divine free will.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And when people don't understand that, then they don't understand eternity. So then they just think, oh, this life is over and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So that's as far as their believing goes. So watch this. When a person believes like that, what do you think they transition into when they pass?
To whatever they
To whatever they're believing. So if they believe there's nothing, they're going to be in a place of nothingness.
Oh, wow. No, we're going back as Buddha.
And you can do that. Everybody can return to whatever, everybody can do whatever they want. And you see it more clearly there than you do here. That's why I think about it. When you meditate, here's the secret. When you truly meditate, do you realize your spirit leaves your body?
Not yet, no. Mine's still around.
This is why your body, when you do it properly, your body gets numb. You can't feel your toes from your nose. When you're in that state of meditation, you have physically left the body. This is why you begin to experience different things that are in the spirit that are not seen in the natural. This is why when you come back from meditation, you have clarity, you have peace, you have love, you have all these things. You have the solution to that problem that you were thinking about. You come back and then you think, oh, I want to create this because I can. And you do it unconsciously. Then you leave your day affirming everything. Why? Because you meditated, and when you were meditated and your spirit left, you went and talked to God, and you went and talked to yourself, and you went and talked to your gods, and you got all the information that you needed to come back to help you on this life path. So now when you start speaking to things, now you understand, wow, I'm very powerful. And now I have to watch my thought because Pastor said, hey, don't take these type of thoughts because if I have that thought, I'm going to create that pattern. And out of that pattern, I'm going to create an environment. And out of that environment, it's going to create a culture.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, let's jump down to, here's an interesting one that we'd like you to know. How many of you know you can eat food in the spirit?
No.
I was asked that question.
I thought only the physical body needs to eat.
You can do whatever you want. This is what we're trying to get you to understand. In other words, you don't, okay, go to page 11. Here's a question that was asked of me a while back on page 11, where it says, don't limit your experience. People have asked me if you can eat food in the spirit. I say to them, yes, you can. And they say, well, how do you digest it? And obviously, it's not a physiology experience. But let's say you wanted a Big Mac and fries, you could create that reality of it, and you would eat it, and you would have the sensation that you were tasting things and feeling things. You can drive your favorite car if you want, live in your big mansion if you want. You can do anything you want. You can create whatever reality that you actually want. And also, so a lot of souls do that. They go out there and they'll create giant French fries and giant whatever, like we talked about earlier. Okay? So drop down to page 13. Page 13. So all you get to this place, it's what I said before. I'm kind of condensing the teaching, okay? It's all related. Basically, in that place, you can have everything because it's so simple and easy to create. Just like that, okay? So, invariably, you all get to this place of nothingness where you just exist as consciousness. So in other words, when you get tired of creating all these things and you realize, okay, I can create, then it's no longer, you learn to shift your energy in a different way. In other words, you begin to learn to organize your energy. You begin to structure your energy. Does that make sense? You begin to identify those vibrations in that energy, and then you go into that energy. When you think of your father, they come to you and they assist you.
Wow.
Any of your members that have passed on. Here's another truth. Even if a person is living and you think about them in the spirit, they come to you in that spirit. Okay, question.
So is that why sometimes like my mom would tell me that she knows that I have been like probably thinking about her?
Yep. Y'all connected. The web of relationship.
Wow.
We're all interconnected. So think about it. Do I really have to talk to you in the spirit with my mouth? No.
Mm.
People say this all the time. Oh, you were in my mind. And all of a sudden, there they are.
Mm.
I was just thinking about you, and then the phone rings, or you get a text, or you get an email. Remember I told you Sunday, I was thinking about a person that I put in the Navy back in 2000. Here we are 19 years later, haven't seen this person in 19 years, and all of a sudden they're in my thoughts, and then I see them at the Veterans Hospital. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Same day, was thinking about a person that I hadn't seen since 2012, 7 years, and all of a sudden get a text, hey, you was in my mind, I was just thinking about you, how you and the family doing? Wow.
That's good.
Okay, so this is talking about that you know somebody. What about new people?
Everybody.
Let's say we are in a certain kind of business and we want to meet a new kind of people, right? That can connect us with in whatever we are doing. Can we ask for the
relationship? Because everything of the web of relationship, y'all met there exactly for that experience.
That's good.
When you meet new people in business or get new students or whatever, you drew them to you. They called to you, hey, Lily, hey, you, come over here, come over here. Okay, let's meet in the middle. Let's meet at this time at this place and this time, and we're gonna have a great experience.
So we actually can do that.
And it happens all the time like that. So watch this. When you meet those people for the very first time, in your spirit, you automatically connect with them.
Yeah.
Automatically you connect with them, whether they have what you would call bad intentions or good intentions, right? You connect with them before, and they can say, oh, you know, I have a doctor's degree in theology and I went to this college and I have this bank account, but then all of a sudden they're trying to steal your money. And you feel that and you sense that, even though they never said that. And then you come to find out, hopefully I'm wrong, that they didn't try to steal from you, but then they come to find out they tried to steal from you. So then your instincts was right, but you guys had a contract on that experience to help you enhance your sensitivity of it. We want you to be sensitive of your thoughts and be aware of those thoughts.
Wow.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, a lot of sense.
Also, in 14, it kind of talks about your question of meeting new people. When, let's see, on verse 13 at the bottom, it says, I can experience because that's what I can do. I no longer need to show anybody or prove anything to anybody. I no longer need even what I want to recognize or be identified in some way. Truth needs no publicity. Truth needs no publicity.
That's good.
So I simply stand in my vibration and I exist. Interesting, the more quieter you become, the simpler things become.
That's good. That's true.
Often the more you can create, and often too, when you choose to, just to be, how much people do you notice you? This is when people start noticing you. This is why you come up with new people. For instance, when I was doing martial arts, right? There was two guys, my Sifus, that I really admired, but because they were so high up, we couldn't talk to them because we were so low, right? And I was working out really, really hard trying to perfect it. And all of a sudden, they came and talked to me. The Kung Fu gods came and talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, I'm thinking I'm a Kung Fu god because the Kung Fu gods had talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because they noticed me, right? Now I begin to walk with the confidence and then begin to build up the rapport and the motivation and the desire.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Based on they noticed me. But when I was trying to be noticed, they didn't notice me. Hey, look at me. Hey, look at me. They never saw me.
That's good.
You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And this is how it often always works. And this is how the web of relationship works when you come in encounter with new people. When you meet a new person, tell yourself, I'm meeting a new aspect of myself. I'm meeting a new version of myself.
Oh.
Everybody. Tell yourself, I'm meeting another. When you see your husband, even though he's your husband, and y'all have the relationship, you're still looking at yourself and he is still looking at himself through your. That's why when you get married, it says you're what? One. Duh.
Oh.
Did not say that in the wedding vows?
We had no vows.
But you became one flesh.
Yeah.
I know.
It was still the coming togetherness.
Mm.
See?
Mm-hmm.
It was still that brought them to notice you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Drop down to verse 15. Oh my God, it's a lot in here. Let's drop way down to, y'all kind of get the gist of this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I didn't know it was this long. Okay, drop all the way down to page 30.
Wow. Damn.
You don't have 30? All right. In 30, in page 30,
Okay, just
I want you to do this. Close your eyes.
Okay, close your eyes.
Everybody close your eyes. In your thoughts, think of the word God. Just have it there. You don't need to feel anything. You don't need to think anything. Just have that word God there. Now, as you think of that word, automatically think of a color that comes into your thought right now. Now allow that color to flow through you. Allow that color to expand beyond your physical body. Now blend that color with all the colors in the room you're in. See that in your thoughts. Fill the room with that color. Experience what you're experiencing. Feel what you're feeling. Feel the power of that color. Now think about your life right now. And take that color and send it to some part of your life that you want at this point. Use it. Use the energy. Use the vibration that you created. Now take what you've used and think about somebody in your life that you would like to share that with. Imagine you go up to that person and embrace them in your thoughts and feel the energy that you're allowing that person to become more than they are. Now think of the word freedom. And as you think of the word freedom, feel that energy go through your body. Allow yourself to experience the vibration of freedom. And think about the ways in your life that you would like to be free. And reach for those ways. They might be an experience, or a person, or an idea, a sensation, or a connection. Think for a moment how you may feel you're freer in your life. And then decide that you are. In your thoughts, say, I am God. Say it out loud.
I am God.
Keep your eyes closed. Say it loud.
I am God.
I am God.
Okay. Say it like it's a big announcement.
I am God.
I am God.
Say it like you're saying it to God.
I am God.
I am God.
Say it in love.
I am God.
I am God.
Say it in your own way.
I am God.
Say it like it's the best thing you have ever said.
I am God.
Open your eyes.
Goosebumps.
Everybody will experience something different. Does that make sense? But this is what we want you to do. Is we want you to be extremely sensitive to what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you're experiencing. Because when you're sensitive to your own experience, there's a big knowing in that sensitivity. And from that space, you accept that you are God. Goosebumps. Woo-hoo. Everybody feel good?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? All good?
Yeah, we are all good. I think
All
this
right.
was good. We're going to practice it.
We love you much. Thank you for allowing me to teach this today. And we'll see you soon.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good evening, Anton.